A Balrog! A Balrog is come! Gimli stared with wide eyes. Durin's Bane, he cried, and letting his axe fall, he covered his face. A Balrog, muttered Gandalf. Now I understand. He faltered and leaned heavily on his staff. What an evil fortune, and I am already weary. Hey everyone, Yoiston here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. Today we are taking a look at how the Lord of the Rings films changed the Balrog of Moria, Durin's Bane, as well as the descriptions and ideas about him. Sources that helped with the creation of today's video are in the description and cards. My friends, thank you all so much for joining me today. Let's begin our tale. Let's start outside of Moria, with the story of the fall of Khazad-dum, and the tale of it that survived within Middle-earth. In the book, there seems to be much more mystery surrounding Moria until the coming of the Fellowship of the Ring. Everyone knew that some great creature called Durin's Bane was awoken when the dwarves delved too deeply for Mithril. The nature of this beast was rather unknown to all, but its terror spread to all who knew of the fall, even to a place such as Lothlorien. However, even during the Battle of Azanulbizar, Dane Ironfoot entered Moria and laid eyes on Durin's Bane. He knew the terror, the flame, the shadow, and escaped with his life, yet he must not have been too aware of the lore and descriptions from the First Age, for he would not know that this was a Balrog of Morgoth when he saw it. In fact, not even the wise would know that it truly was a Balrog until 3019 of the Third Age, as it was apparent that Gandalf and Legolas did not even know that the name Durin's Bane actually belonged to a Balrog, which gave Gandalf a sense of understanding concerning the lore of the fall of Khazad-dum. Now let's contrast that to the films. In the movies, Gandalf did not wish to enter Moria unless there was no better way around or over the Misty Mountains. Frodo made the final decision to go through Moria, and Gandalf knew, as we understand through the narration of Saruman, that it was a Balrog in the mines. Even in the books, Gandalf was far more eager to go through Moria, while it was Aragorn who was more hesitant towards that place, which makes sense if we take that knowledge, or Gandalf's lack of knowledge concerning the Balrog. If he had known what kind of creature Durin's Bane actually was, he probably would have opted for an even more different route. Now let's take a look at the physical description of the Balrog in the book versus what we got in the film. In the book, there is certainly a great deal of imagery concerning shadow and flame. It was a large creature with a sword and whip. This is quite close to the physicality of the Balrog as depicted in the movie, but there is one controversy in the Lord of the Rings community about one feature of the Balrog. Shout out to my friend Matt from Nerd of the Rings. He's very passionate about the idea that Balrogs did not have real wings, as he is shown to have in Peter Jackson's films. Here are two quotes from the book. His enemy halted again, facing him, and the shadow about it reached out like two vast wings. It stepped forward slowly onto the bridge, and suddenly it drew itself up to a great height, and its wings were spread from wall to wall. Now, I think with these two quotes, one can certainly read it either way, and the former quote certainly gives us more reason that, with the latter quote, the wings were manifest of shadow, and were not truly wings. More evidence for this in the Legendarium is that Balrogs rode dragons during the fall of Gondolin rather than simply flying into the city themselves, and of course after Gandalf destroyed the Bridge of Khazad-dum and Durin's Bane fell, Durin's Bane did not simply fly back up. Yet many adaptations and similar sorts of creatures in other media, such as Balrogs in the Diablo franchise or Balors in Dungeons & Dragons, do have wings. This also speaks to the different interpretations of the Balrog at large, as some art shows him looking more humanoid, while others depict him as a more demonic entity. For me personally, I like the depictions either way, and I do like how they're adapted. But it would make more sense if their wings were shrouds of shadow, almost covers for their flame, and that they were more cosmetic than functional as to stave off certain plot holes like the ones we just discussed. As for the fight itself, much of what can be said is the same in both mediums, with a bit more said in the books. Furthermore, Aragorn and Boromir made to attack the Balrog and aid Gandalf before the bridge was destroyed, and the two Maiar fell. Of course, there were many small changes like this between the book and movie. Gandalf's staff was shattered in the book, whereas it was lost in the film, etc. In both, they fought from the bottom of Moria up the endless stair to the top of Celebdil, where they slew one another. It took 10 days in the book, and we're not sure how long it was in the movie, but it specifically showed us Gandalf slaying the Balrog with a lightning-infused Glamdring in the movie. We're not sure exactly how Gandalf defeated the Balrog in the book. Beyond this, the films were rather true to the canon concerning the Balrog, in my opinion. In both book and film, however, there is a question of how aware the Balrog and Sauron were of one another, and whether or not they were aligned in their goals and so forth. The Balrog would certainly remember the Lieutenant of Angband from the years before the First Age, and since both were Maiar who served Melkor, I am sure they would be aware of one another if they did come into contact. However, I doubt the Balrog knew much of what was going on beyond the walls of Moria, for he had slept beneath the Dwarven Kingdom for many years, and never left it. But I suspect that since Sauron had sent orcs to populate the Misty Mountains and Moria in 2480 of the Third Age, he probably knew of the Balrog, and remembered him from ages past. With all of that said, I hope this has been an interesting, if brief, comparison between the Durin's Bane of the book and the Balrog of the movie. And so we come to the end of our tale. From the adaptation of the Balrog, we see the resilience of Gandalf to stand against this evil, no matter the Balrog's purpose. Let us find such strength and resilience in our own endeavors. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and share this with a friend. What are your thoughts on the differences of the Balrog from book to film? I think the movies did a phenomenal job at bringing this character to life, especially with the tech of the day that they had. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider getting some candles from our friends Mythologie Candles, or order some Weta or United Cutlery Lord of the Rings swords, statues, and other replicas from Castle Khan, who does international shipping, and use the code WEST at checkout. Please check out our merch and Patreon. Thanks to our Valor tier patrons and YouTube members: Peter Shepard, Jonathan Putnam, Blair Scouten, Merton, John Hume, Sam McBee, Elizabeth Calvert, Maz Gibbs, Reese Jenkins, Adam Petrlik, Anthony Harmon, Arthur, Merlin, Dale Davis, Kingswald Project, Robert Bogue, King of Games 2500, and Theodore. Thank you so much to all of our patrons and YouTube members. Please subscribe and hit that bell button to join the Men of the West and all of the free peoples today. I'll see you all again next week with a video on part 2 of my lesser-known lands of Middle-earth sub-series, including Dunland, the Iron Hills, and more. My friends, thank you all so much for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one.